Good evening, everyone. Today I will be discussing an article from Bridge, Michigan, titled Fixing Michigan's Roads Got Really Darn Expensive. This article takes a deep dive into Michigan's ongoing struggle to repair and maintain its road infrastructure, a challenge that's been compounded by rising costs, labor shortages, and funding issues. So the purpose of this presentation is to explore the challenges Michigan faces in road repairs, with a focus on rising construction costs, inflation, labor shortages, and the lack of sustainable long-term funding. So here's an overview of what I'll be covering today. First, we'll look at why road repair costs are rising, followed by the impact of labor shortages. Then I'll touch on the temporary federal funding, discuss the shortfall in gas tax revenue, and finally explore some potential long-term solutions for funding Michigan's roads. So the article begins by reminding us of Governor Gretchen Whitmer's well-known slogan, "Fix the damn roads," which captured the frustration of many Michigan residents. In response, the state rolled out a $3.5 billion road bonding program aimed at improving road conditions, along with receiving federal funds from pandemic relief and infrastructure bills. However, the article explains that despite these financial inputs, inflation has dramatically reduced the state's purchasing power by as much as 50%. Essentially, what Michigan could afford in road repairs a few years ago now costs much more, making it harder to stretch the available funds. Pulled from the Michigan Department of Transportation, this graph here shows that Michigan's road construction costs have significantly increased between 2020 and 2023. The cost to fully reconstruct a single lane mile jumped from $3.2 million in 2020 to $5.2 million in 2023, a 62.5% increase. Similarly, the cost to rehabilitate an existing lane mile rose from $792,000 to $1.3 million during the same period, driven by inflation, rising material prices, and labor shortages. This sharp rise in costs highlights some of the biggest challenges Michigan faces in its efforts to fix the roads. As prices continue to climb, it's becoming harder to stretch available funding, making long-term solutions even more critical. One of the most significant factors driving up these costs is inflation, particularly in the construction industry. The article highlights that prices for materials like asphalt and concrete have surged, and global supply chain disruptors have only worsened the situation. This has led to delays and increased expenses for road projects across the state. Additionally, there's been a shortage of skilled labor, which has further slowed the pace of repairs. Fewer workers mean longer project timelines and even higher costs due to rising wages and a tight labor market. The Michigan received a temporary boost from federal pandemic relief and infrastructure funding, which provided a much-needed jumpstart for road repairs. Governor Whitmer's $3.5 billion bonding initiative helped fund major highway projects, but it doesn't cover local roads and comes with the burden of decades-long debt repayment. While the bond has improved conditions on some key roads, it's not a sustainable long-term solution for the state's infrastructure needs. State and federal spending on roads nearly doubled between 2015 and 2023, but inflation has eaten away much of this increase, leaving Michigan with only a 50% gain in purchasing power. Once the temporary funding runs out, Michigan will still face the same challenges, rising costs and inadequate funding, unless a long-term solution is put in place. To address the funding shortfall, the article suggests solutions like increasing vehicle registration fees or implementing a mileage-based tax, which would charge drivers based on road usage rather than fuel consumption. Oregon's mileage tax pilot program offers a potential model for Michigan, helping to offset declining gas tax revenues as more electric vehicles hit the roads. While these options could provide sustainable funding, they may face political resistance. A combination of increased fees, mileage-based taxes, and possibly tolls could help ensure Michigan has the resources to maintain its infrastructure long-term. To conclude, while Michigan's efforts to fix the damn roads are ongoing, rising costs and funding challenges are making progress difficult. Inflation and worker shortages have increased the cost of road repairs, and without a more permanent funding model, the state's roads are likely to continue deteriorating. This article highlights the urgency of funding long-term solutions to ensure Michigan's roads are safe and maintained for years to come. Thank you for your attention. I hope this presentation provides you with a better understanding of the challenges Michigan faces in fixing its roads. Now, to address the final questions, the biggest challenge in this project was actually spreading out all of the information from the article to fit into the presentation. say like the article itself probably took me 2.5 minutes to read through. I mean, granted, a little bit longer to understand, but 2.5 minutes to read through it, and then summarizing that information into 4 to 5 minutes of content is was pretty difficult, but it was fine, I guess. And then this project challenged my prior understanding of how much content can be included in a slide-based oral presentation. I initially thought that less text on slides was always better, but I realized that in this case, some extra content was necessary to keep the audience engaged and to ensure the complex information was clearly communicated to everybody.